Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to recap on the rainfall that's impacted southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales before talking about a thunderstorm threat for New South Wales and the associated cold front that's going to be impacting the area. And we're going to jump over to Western Australia and talk about some severe weather that's expected there over the coming weekend. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you're brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing and also to leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. So we're going to zoom in now to southeastern Queensland, where we will just quickly recap on the rainfall event that has blown through. Certainly some very significant falls over the past 72 hours for some areas. You can see the rainfall has completely cleared out, and it's been pretty clear over this part of Queensland for the last 24 hours or so. Just a few showers were happening this time about 24 hours ago across the southeastern corner, and that amounted to about 50 millimeters in the 9 a.m. to today. We've had peak rainfall accumulations across this part of southeastern Queensland up to 300 millimeters, exactly what the forecast models were expecting. And again, with the heaviest falls around Ogmore and Rockhampton, the forecast models were very much on the money with where the rainfall was expected as well. Now it is clearing out, and there is those river levels are dropping. You can see the low pressure system actually located just offshore now from Agnes Water and Rockhampton. This is the low pressure system that powered it all, and it looks stripped back to the bone, and I find this very interesting indeed. It's a very weak low pressure system, even though it resembles a tropical cyclone by its looks, but you can see the winds rotating around it in that clockwise fashion. Again, the winds are not strong at all, with winds of around 10 knots adjacent to the coastline, gusting to around 15, and again, they will drop off pretty quickly there. The river levels across southeastern Queensland are also dropping. There are a few rivers still flowing at the minor flooding alerts, especially for areas around Bundaberg and inland towards Taroom and Biloela. However, those rivers will once again drop throughout the course of today, and I reckon the flooding threat will be done by lunchtime across southeastern Queensland, which wraps up a pretty significant August weather event here. Certainly the heaviest August rainfall in this part of Queensland for quite a long time. A very interesting weather event to track, and yeah, I feel like we did a great job here on the CyclonesOZ channel. Any feedback or any comments on it, or a rainfall report for your location, please do leave it in the comment section down below. I'll go back to as many people as I can throughout the course of today. I'm going to move things on out of southeastern Queensland and now into New South Wales, where this cold front here that's sweeping through South Australia and Victoria at this time here is going to be bringing a little bit of the chance of thunderstorm activities for New South Wales. Now we'll turn off the observations and turn on the pressure isobars here. You can see throughout the next 12 hours this cold front sweeps up from the south, impacts areas along the South Australian coastline with some storms and showers possible later this afternoon and into the early hours of this evening, and then into early tomorrow morning for Victoria and the western half of New South Wales. There could be up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for parts of South Australia, but the interesting threat here is going to be New South Wales. Now, with this cold front sweeping through New South Wales, it's going to be dragging in a lot of warm air from the northeast and the northwest into Queensland and the Northern Territory. Now, this warm air is going to be spiking temperatures throughout the course of tomorrow. You can see daytime maxima approaching 27 to 28 degrees Celsius in the northern part of New South Wales. A very warm day indeed, certainly going to be a couple of degrees above average for some of these locations, and anywhere between a line of Broken Hill across to Dubbo and Tamworth, expecting maximum temperatures to be about 5 to 8 degrees Celsius above average. Now, this isn't an interesting part of the video on its own. However, it's going to be providing that energy and the humidity for these thunderstorms to fire up between Cobar and Griffith especially. So for locations between Cobar down to Griffith and then inland towards Wagga Wagga, and then tracing up the foothills of the Great Dividing Range to about Dubbo, and then inland again back towards Cobar, that's where the chance of some thunderstorms, which could at times potentially be severe, will be piping up along the cold front or just ahead of the cold front by around sort of late afternoon Friday and into the early evening hours of Friday. The chances of thunderstorms are at their greatest between 2 and 5 p.m. For areas around Cobar, I reckon they'll be getting them closer to around 2 or 3 p.m, but once you get out towards Dubbo and then Wagga Wagga, the thunderstorms will be around that 5 to 6 p.m. mark before they ease off at around 6 or 7 p.m. as the cold front itself collides with the Great Dividing Range. But we could still be seeing some thunderstorms, potentially severe thunderstorms as well, across this part of New South Wales, with some heavy falls, large hailstones and damaging winds in isolated areas possible. In terms of peak rainfall rates from these thunderstorms, really not expecting too much in the way of heavy rainfall here. The heaviest of falls will be around Wagga Wagga and Albury. Again, they probably won't be associated with isolated severe thunderstorms. It will be sort of a cold front with a big rain band which has some storms embedded in it. The rainfall accumulations could max out at around 10 to 15 millimeters an hour down there, so peak accumulations up towards 25 millimeters. But once you get out of that sort of area along the New South Wales Victoria border, the accumulations are expected to drop off and become a lot more unpredictable, with accumulations between 5 to 10 millimeters being more likely, and again being very hard to predict as well. You can see accumulations here from this weather system, pretty hit and miss, especially once you get up towards Cobar and that sort of area, and inland towards Ivanhoe. But around Griffith and Wagga Wagga, you could be seeing accumulations up towards 10 to 15 millimeters. The more common accumulation number will be between sort of 2 to 10 millimeters in this part of New South Wales. As with thunderstorms, the rainfall is very unpredictable. Now, what is the energy driving this weather event here? Well, we'll touch on that right now with something called the convective available potential energy. You can think of this as fuel for thunderstorms in the atmosphere. The higher the number, the more fuel there is. Now, typically when you're in the winter seasons, especially this time of the year, you don't need much in the way of convective available potential energy to spark a thunderstorm event here. So 500 or 600 joules per kilogram of air is a huge number to really be promoting these thunderstorms here. And as such, I'm going to declare this as a very high level of CAPE, or very high level of energy in the atmosphere, which means thunderstorms could be abundant across New South Wales if they do get the right formation with the right instability in the atmosphere and the right temperatures in the upper atmosphere, which I do feel like New South Wales is going to offer them tomorrow afternoon. This is an early season taste of what summer is going to be like. Again, we do have the chance of some severe thunderstorms, so make sure you are staying safe across the inland parts of New South Wales. Don't become an avid storm chaser if you don't know what you're doing. And these thunderstorms could be a little bit dangerous at times. I don't feel like there's going to be all-out severe thunderstorms or all-out Armageddon, but there is the chance of some small hailstones, some heavy rainfall, and some damaging winds from these thunderstorms here. And if you do live in central New South Wales, then please do keep me posted on what these weather events do end up looking like. Now, before we head over west, I'll just talk about the cold front itself. It's a big low pressure system that's expected to jam itself in the Great Australian Bight, and as such, it's going to be funneling in showers and storms across Victoria, South Australia, and especially into the west coast of Tasmania throughout tomorrow afternoon and into early Saturday morning. The showers and storms could amount to around 25 millimeters of the Victorian coastline, which is very healthy rainfall indeed. They do desperately need it, and about 50 millimeters of the west coast of Tasmania, which again is pretty necessary for them. They have struggled for rainfall over the last couple of weeks, and the rainfall will be very much appreciated there. There could be the chance of some snow flurries as well, down to around 1,300 metres across Tasmania on Sunday, and down to around 1,500 metres on Sunday night and Monday morning for Victoria. Again, the chances of that are pretty minimal at this time, but I will keep you posted on the snow threat. We're definitely heading out of snow season at this time, only about a month left of snow chances across the highlands of New South Wales and Victoria, and again, I will keep you posted on what snowfall is expected when. Now, we're going to draw things back to the today forecast and head over west, and we're going to be talking about Western Australia. We do have some showers streaming ashore at this time, especially across the lower west around the Perth metro area, and then across the south coast between Albany across to Esperance, with some showers and storms bringing some isolated heavy falls to locations. Now, the next cold front is going to be sweeping in sometime tomorrow night. You can see it here. It is a big one. It's expected to fire up some really strong thunderstorms before crossing the coast, and I would not be surprised if this thunderstorm did go either severe weather warned or severe thunderstorm warned from the Bureau of Meteorology, either for heavy rainfall from the severe weather or for some heavy rainfall and damaging winds from severe thunderstorms. We're looking at the chance of some heavy falls in the actual cold front band of this. What's going to be happening is there'll be a big rain band behind the main cold front band here, and the main cold front band will house some embedded thunderstorms with some heavy falls in it, and that is because the Lewin current is still piping hot. We've still got some very warm sea surface temperatures adjacent to the Perth coastline, and as such, as this cold front makes its passage through early Saturday morning and into the early hours of Saturday afternoon, there is going to be a huge swathe of rainfall moving across the Perth metro area and the southwest as a whole, extending as far north as Kalbarri and Geraldton. There's some very heavy falls located for some of these locations, with accumulations up to 25 millimeters an hour expected, and that's going to be resulting in some pretty heavy falls. In fact, the Bureau of Meteorology has significantly upped their rainfall yesterday, and I believe that that is a completely understandable idea. They went from 2 to 20 millimeters expected on Saturday to up to 20 to 70 millimeters expected over the eastern suburbs of Perth. That's reciprocated on the rainfall forecast here, with massive accumulations possible Friday and Saturday. You can see up towards 80 to 90 millimeters adjacent to the Perth coastline. Perth itself expecting up to 60 millimeters of the stuff. The eastern suburbs, I believe, will cop the most amount of rainfall. Suburbs such as Bickley and Mundaring will likely get up towards 70 or 80 millimeters from this weather event. I think Perth and the northern suburbs will be a little bit more modest with their rainfall, reaching out at about 30 millimeters or so. The southern suburbs should cop an easy 50 millimeters. Mandurah also a pretty easy 50 millimeters. And then along the southwest capes and the south coastal regions, I reckon rainfall accumulations will be pretty hit and miss between 30 and 50 millimeters, with some places picking up more and some places picking up a lot less. 20 millimeters expected up towards Geraldton, and about 10 millimeters expected up towards Kalbarri, and some decent rainfall as well penetrating inland into the wheat belt. You can see up towards 20 to 30 millimeters at some of the locations towards the west of Albany and southwestern highway, and some good accumulations as well expected towards the inland parts of the Wheatbelt up towards 10 to 20 millimetres of rainfall, which again is necessary, but the rainfall could be pretty hit and miss once you get further out there. Now, just breaking this cold front down a little bit more, showers and storms expected to persist all throughout Saturday, with some stronger storms coming through on Saturday night, with some damaging winds expected in the cold front's big wake. And then throughout Sunday as well, we're expecting showers and storms to persist throughout the day for the Perth metro area before easing off Sunday night, clearing out for a beautiful work week by the looks of things as this cold front sweeps down into the Great Australian Bight. There will be showers throughout the course of next week before another cold front sweeps up sometimes Tuesday or Wednesday later next week. And it looks like it's just going to be a bit of wintry weather throughout the course of next week before a return to some warmer conditions towards the later parts of next week by the looks of things. Just with how this cold front is shaped here, I think we could be getting a bit of a warm run towards the end of next week. Again, don't hold me to that because it is around 9 or 10 days away on the forecast at this time. There is a lot of rainfall coming through though, and it certainly is something to be taken very seriously across the southwest of Western Australia. Saturday night looks like it is going to be, Saturday rather, it looks like it's going to be pretty rough, so make sure you are doing an inside-based activity. I do not recommend going out and doing outdoor or definitely not shore-based activities such as swimming or boating. It's going to be quite hazardous for that indeed, but certainly looks like it's going to be a beautiful indoor day to spend some time inside it to start off your weekend. A pretty good rain swathe though across the southwest of Western Australia. You can see it here. It really does look quite decent with a lot of rainfall falling across a lot of locations, and we love to see it, especially because if I flick it over to the drought monitoring map here, there is some drought-like conditions starting to eke into the southwest of Western Australia, and that's supported by soil moisture anomalies actually looking quite unhealthy for some areas, especially in a sort of strip in the Wheatbelt between Jurien Bay down towards Esperance. Once you get further north of that, they've had some very good rainfall to start off their winter season, and then south of that some pretty good rainfall as well throughout the winter season, but then this little strip here just is a little bit drier than average, and hopefully this cold front sweeping through brings in some much needed rainfall for those locations. Other than that, the majority of Western Australia looking pretty good in terms of rainfall. There's no real hot or cold spots across Western Australia. There is a couple of wet spots into the Gascoyne and into the southern parts of the Pilbara region. However, again, no farming out there, no crop farming out there, so it isn't too much of a concern. They're not in all that drought condition. South Australia as well looking pretty wet, but once we get down towards New South Wales and Victoria, it does look like full-blown drought conditions are really starting to eke into their state at this time. There is a few showers and storms expected to kind of quench some of those drought-like conditions across Victoria throughout the course of this weekend, but it's just not going to be enough rainfall to bring them relief, especially across the west and the southeast of the state. They desperately need a good sort of 50 to 80 millimetres across 3 or 4 days to really quench this drought, and unfortunately there's nothing like that coming through on the forecast over the next 10 days, and in fact nothing that I can see on the forecast for the next month or so. Again, month-long forecasts are notoriously inaccurate, but I'm not overly confident with rainfall sweeping in for Victoria and New South Wales to the degree that they do need it in order to avoid kind of all-out drought-like conditions here, with soil moisture values very significantly below average now, up towards 70 or 80% below average. That's only about 20% of what they normally are, and they desperately do need some good rainfall here because they have had a miserable winter across Victoria and other parts of New South Wales. And it's in stark contrast to what's happening in Queensland. I mean, take a look at this. The rainfall event that's just came through is looking at soil moisture values up to 200% wetter than average. Absolutely no drought to be speaking of across the Queensland coastline here, but look at how abruptly it stops, and this must be heartbreaking for farmers here. There is kind of a dry line here that's swept across New South Wales, and as such, if you live north of it, you're lucky. If you live south of it, you've been really unlucky this winter season with some very average rainfall that has fallen. But yeah, that basically does it for an Australia-wide forecast. It's the shortest video in quite a long time, and it feels good to be making some short, easier content for the viewer to listen to. So let me know what you feel about in the description, about in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to as many people as I can throughout the course of today. 10-day rainfall accumulations don't really give out to anything interesting. I guess we're going to have to start talking about the tropics a little bit more in later forecast updates, but right now we're still hammering home winter weather on the channel. That is all from me today. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not run this show without them, so again, their support is greatly appreciated. Thank you to all the new subscribers as well lately. Again, your support has been lovely, and I've enjoyed tracking the Queensland weather event very much, and I'm so happy to have the influx of new viewers as well. And yeah, welcome to the channel. That is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.